What happened in Edmonton's real estate market in the month of May? We're going to talk about all that in this video. So if you've been tuning in every single week, we have live updates every Tuesday where we talk about single family home market and what's happening week to week. But like I say in the week to weeks, you want to see what's happening every month to give you a different perspective. And in this video, we're talking about not just single family, but also semi-attached and condominiums. So let's just get started. So the number of new listings that we've had in Edmonton in May is no big surprise. We had more listings compared to April and more listings compared to last May at this time. Now, that's no big surprise because everyone wants to put their house on the market at that time because it can kind of make sure that you move in the summertime. If you sell your house and you have a 60-day possession, that's putting you in at July. So it's a perfect time, kids are done school and you can still enjoy your summer after you've moved in. So in terms of how many listings came up in the month of May, we had just over 3,500 listings with an increase of 27.8% from April. And if you take a look at the total year-to-date listings, we've had 13,000 listings that went up this year. So still slightly higher than it was last year. Now, the interesting thing is, even though we've had lots of listings and more listings than last year, we've actually had probably a little less sales because we're starting to see a bit of a softening in the market. Now, what does that mean? Softening the market means we're not all the way over at a seller's market. The numbers might show that, which I'll talk to you about in a minute here, but we're starting to see in the market, the certain price points are starting to not get the activity, they're not getting the sales, and they're not getting the movement that they used to, that they did last year. So that's something interesting, and we're starting to see that price point from 600 and up be slower, but we're starting to see that trickle in to the lower price points. They're still moving, but we're not seeing those excessive amount of showings or offers. So if you take a look at the number of sales in May, we did have more sales in May than we did last month in April. However, if you take a look at it compared to last year at this time, we're just over 8,000 sales this year, and that is down from last year at this time. It's only down by 3.5%. Not significant, but significant enough to note because we haven't actually seen a decrease. And we've noticed week to week, when we compare the sales from this week to last year at this time, it is still lower every single time. So what does that mean? Because a lot of people were waiting for interest rates to drop and then they would buy the house. Well, that doesn't seem to make sense because last year the interest rates were higher, this year it's lower, yet the sales are lower. We had more sales last year than we did this year. And if people were waiting for the rates to drop to buy, it sure isn't showing up in the stats right now. If you are looking to wait until next year, let's say, to buy just like the people did last year, you'll notice that the single family home price has gone up substantially. It hasn't just stayed the same. Edmonton usually only has 1 to 2% increase over the years. You've heard me say that before. The last few years, we've seen a significant increase. Last year, we were over 10%, and this year, we're probably gonna be around the same, maybe a little bit lower. My guess is about 8%. But if you take a look at the average price of homes in Edmonton, we're sitting over $500,000. So the single family detached home average price was $561,000. If you've been following me for any amount of time, you'll know that number is actually on the higher side. In past, it's been just under 500,000, and when we hit over 5, I remember thinking this is crazy, and the market readjusted itself, went back down to the lower 5s. But we've actually seen the average single family home price stay over 5 for quite some time now. And the fact that we're at $561,000 means that if you have looked at homes before and you're waiting for that price point and that house to be that same price point again, you're maybe going to be waiting for a while. So the average price, if you're looking to spend in Edmonton, you can still get a decent home, but your expectations of price point need to go up, or you need to be okay with buying a different type of house. There are still homes that need work. There are homes in different areas, not as desirable locations, that are affordable for the $400,000 to $500,000 range, and you can still get a house for your family, which still makes Edmonton a lot more affordable than living in Ontario and BC. Now, if we take a look at the price of the average semi-detached home, so these are the ones that have a shared wall, they're looking at $439,000. And that month to month went up 1.6% and year over year 3.1%. So those ones increased. The average price of a row townhouse was $301,000, and it went down by 1.3%, but still higher than last year at 7%. These townhouses include both the condominiumized ones and the ones that don't have condo fees, because these are the ones that have 3 neighbors or 2 neighbors. And the price points of those have gone up because those are the affordable homes to get into the market. So last year we saw an influx of an increased demand of that price point last year because all the other homes were getting priced even higher. So people started to move down below. Townhouses can have condo fees, and those are the ones you'll see in the 300 range. The ones with no condo fees are usually the ones in the low 400 range. So you have to do the math on your mortgage payment and the condo fees, because it might actually make more sense to buy the one with no condo fees. Now, to buy the ones with no condo fees, you will end up in new areas because those kind of properties did not exist in the more established areas. This is a newer concept in the last 6 years or so. And what's happening with condos? We rarely talk about condos, and that's intentional, but in this video we're talking about all of the properties in Edmonton. We did see the average price of condos at $208,000, which is slightly lower than the month of April and a little bit higher than this year, last year at this time. So the total number of properties that are for sale in Edmonton in May was 4,843. That is all properties, whether it's single family or condos. Now, I know from our videos that we do every week, the average inventory for single family is 2,500. So we're sitting at a little bit more than half of condominiumized properties for sale in Edmonton versus single family. Now, when you take a look at if we didn't get any more listings on the market, and we took the average days on market in Edmonton, it's gonna take 2.3 months to sell, which means it's still a seller's market. When you look at that number, when it's less than 3 months of progress, it means that you'll actually still be in a seller's market. When you're in the 3 to 4 month, you're more in a balanced market. And then once you get over 5 months, you're more in a buyer's market. So we're still definitely in a seller's market. But again, make sure you take a look at the community you're buying in and the house you're living in and selling. So if we take a look at the average days on market, that's something interesting to take a look at this graph. The single family detached homes went 28 days this year compared to 31 last year. And that's lower. But everything else has been a little bit higher. Semi-detached is 27 versus 25 at this time. Row townhouses, 26 versus 24. All residential is 30 versus 32. But the condo apartments are slightly lower at 41 versus 43. So the average days on market is still in that range. We're not seeing things fly off the market. But that being said, if you're looking to sell your house, you don't need to use the average days on market to think how long your house is going to sell. If you've priced correctly, you've marketed correctly, and your house is under the $600,000 price point, you should actually move relatively quickly. I would say within a few weeks still. We don't see houses just sitting on the market for no good reason unless those other items that I just listed have some sort of issue to do with them. Now, when we talk about price points that are over $700,000 and $600,000 really, things are moving slower. If you're buying a new build, you'll see that they're starting to offer incentives now, and that is a sign that they're not moving homes quite as quickly as they have in the past. And for the higher end properties in the resale, we started seeing a lot of movement in the last few years of higher end properties a lot quicker than we normally have. And I believe that market is moving back down to what is more typical in Edmonton and is taking longer to sell, even if you're priced correctly. So you have to be more patient. So what does that mean for you if you're buying and you're upgrading? Well, you have to make sure that you know what you're buying, and you know when you're selling your home, if it's going to move quickly, make sure you have a house and figure it out. Figure out your financing, make sure you talk to a mortgage broker. Can you carry that home while you look for a house or move into a house? Do you need bridge financing, or do you have to sell your house first? If you're a first-time home buyer, make sure to take a look at the most recent incentives that the federal government has now offered. It's a GST full rebate for a new build home for first-time home buyers. You can get up to $50,000 back, and that is a really helpful tool, especially if you are living in Alberta. Now, the limit goes all the way to $1.5 million. If you're $1 million and lower, you get full percentage back. If it's 1 to 1.5, it's a sliding scale. Why would someone who's buying a first-time home spend over $1 million? because you're probably from Ontario or BC. In Edmonton, I don't think you're a first-time home buyer when you're buying a house over $1 million, and that's why we're seeing people still come to Edmonton. Although I do believe our migration is actually starting to slow down, and it'll be interesting to see what that number looks like for this year. Now, if you're looking to sell your home, make sure to take a look at what your plan is. If you're downsizing, you're selling your home that's a higher end property and moving to a more busier market, you have to have a strategy in place for that too. So all that being said, May is still a pretty healthy month for the Edmonton real estate market. June, I predict, is going to be a lot slower, so we'll see what happens, and we'll see you on Tuesday, if not next month.